Chapter 335, Karmic Fire Remission. A resounding boom rang out as a blinding crimson sun exploded in the sky, sending countless bursts of fire hurtling toward the sharp edge of the giant axe. The axe appeared to have been swinging through the air with unstoppable force, but it was snapped with a resounding crack, while the huge crimson sword pierced straight through Dongjie's chest. A huge gash was instantly torn open on his chest, yet before blood had itched to flow out of the wound, it was evaporated by the scorching flames burning on the giant sword. Dongjie swayed a few times before plummeting out of the sky as his body rapidly shrank back down to its original size, while the giant crimson sword flew back to position itself above the blaze dragon's head again. Immediately thereafter, the sword also shrank down rapidly, and Taoist Hu Yan stumbled out of it with an ashen complexion while gasping for air. Just now, he had drawn upon the blood essence in his own body to fuse as one with his crimson Luon sword, and only then was he able to severely wound Dongjie with a single strike. Despite how severely taxed he was, he didn't immediately swallow any pills to assist in his recovery. Instead, he cast his gaze toward the woman in the pink palace dress. A burst of indistinct white light abruptly appeared behind her, following which Yunni emerged amid a burst of spatial fluctuations, then lashed out toward the woman's back with the green willow branch that she was holding. Azure light was searching all over the willow branch, and as it was swung through the air, countless willow leaf-shaped blades of light were instantly released, sweeping directly toward the woman's back. At this moment, the woman in the pink palace dress had her attention focused entirely on stabilizing the array, which was on the verge of collapse, and by the time she detected what was happening behind her, it was already too late. The silk streamer that was draped over her shoulders immediately began to glow brightly, then rose up into the air to oppose the willow branch. At the same time, a streak of light flashed through the air as Ouyang Quishan rapidly approached the scene from afar with a complex look on his face, holding a golden longsword that he was plunging directly toward Yunni's heart. A hint of finality flashed through Yunni's eyes upon seeing this, and she made no effort to take evasive measures. Seemingly determined to go through with her attack, even at the cost of her own life. The flurry of willow leaf blades instantly tore a gash into the silk streamer before crashing heavily into the woman's back, shredding through the protective spiritual light around her as her entire body pitched forward, and she threw up a mouthful of blood that splattered all over her guqin. At the same time, Ouyang Quishan had also arrived on the scene. Yet right as his sword was about to plunge through Yunni's heart, he suddenly twisted his wrist slightly to direct his sword away from its original trajectory, piercing it through Yunni's shoulder instead. "Is it really worth going so far for him?" he asked as a pained look flashed through his eyes. Yunni merely smiled and offered no response as her entire body scattered into countless white flower petals. In the next instant, she reappeared beside Taoist Hu Yan. Immediately thereafter, yet another earth-shattering roar rang out, and the black flames over the blaze dragon's body reared up significantly as it swiveled around in the sky, thrashing against the array that it was trapped in with ferocious might. The surrounding golden pillars were already quite unstable, and the entire array began to collapse toward the center in the face of the blaze dragon's tremendous power. As the blaze dragon reared up with all its might, the golden dragons coiled around its body were finally snapped into pieces before disintegrating into countless specks of golden light. Immediately thereafter, the 8 golden pillars exploded violently into an enormous arc of golden light that erupted in all directions. The 8 golden immortals that were overseeing the array were all struck by backlash in the wake of the array's destruction, and they plummeted out of the sky with blood gushing out of their mouths. Upon breaking free from the array, the blaze dragon continued to ascend, flying straight through the clouds before arriving on the other battlefield. The space there was encompassed within a massive white light barrier, within which gusts of frosty wind that were interspersed with countless snowflakes were howling incessantly, and even the clouds had begun to freeze over, transforming them ice statues of all types of strange shapes and forms, making one feel as if they had suddenly arrived on the infernal frost continent. "That's Xiao Jinhan's golden immortal spirit domain," Taoist Huyan exclaimed. "There's Dao Lord Bailey," Yunni called out as she pointed at the light barrier from afar. Having already taken a restorative pill, the wound on her chest had already completely healed, but her complexion was still quite pale. At this point, she was pointing at a massive icy plaque that was hovering at the center of the area encompassed within the light barrier, and it was giving off formidable glacial chi. Trapped within the giant plaque was none other than Bai Lian, and his body was enveloped within a layer of rainbow light that was flashing incessantly, seemingly desperately trying to keep the surrounding glacial chi at bay. Upon seeing the approaching blaze dragon, a complex look flashed through Bai Lian's eyes. Meanwhile, Xiao Jinhan was standing atop the giant plaque with his hands resting atop the hilt of his sword. Hovering in the air behind him was a massive wheel of ice that was giving off radiant silver light while also releasing a constant stream of silver runes. Whenever a rune came drifting down, it would flow down his longsword and land upon the giant plaque, further reinforcing it while also bolstering the glacial chi within it. A hint of fury flashed through Xiao Jinhan's eyes at the sight of the approaching blaze dragon, and he released the hilt of his sword to make a hand seal before sweeping a hand forward in a forceful fashion. Dazzling silver light erupted out of the wheel of ice behind him, conjuring up an enormous ice dragon that was over 100,000 feet in length above his head before swooping down toward the blaze dragon. The two massive dragons clashed with an almighty boom, and the ice dragon began to shatter in layers starting from its head, disintegrating into a vast expanse of ice crystals, while the blaze dragon continued onward, flying directly toward the white light barrier. Right as its sharp horns were about to pierce through the light barrier, the sound of an arrow whistling through the air suddenly rang out across the entire sky. Having accumulated as much power as he could, Lu Yue had finally let loose his arrow. The silver arrow had a long, fiery tail, and it was flying across the sky like a shooting star. A silver vortex was revolving rapidly on the tip of the arrow, causing all of the space in its wake to shudder violently, while boundless world's origin chi was converging from all directions before surging into the vortex. The silver arrow rapidly swelled in size as it flew through the air, quickly extending to over 10,000 feet in length from its initial length of 3 feet, and it punched a massive hole through the clouds before hurtling toward the blaze dragon's head from below. A thunderous boom rang out as a massive hole was shot through the blaze dragon's head, extending all the way from the bottom of its chin to the top of its head. The giant silver vortex remained in its head, causing even more world's origin chi to converge in a frenzy. The spiritual pressure there was constantly elevating, and it quickly reached an extremely formidable level. Taoist Huyan immediately grabbed onto Yunni's hand and flew away into the distance upon seeing this. He had only flown for just over 10,000 feet when a resounding boom rang out from behind him, and the silver vortex exploded violently, sending chaotic world's origin chi erupting in all directions, producing shockwaves that encompassed the entire surrounding area in a radius of hundreds of kilometers. Taoist Huyan and Yunni felt a vast wave of power sweeping toward them from behind, and both of them threw up a mouthful of blood in unison as they were swept involuntarily away into the distance, like a pair of small rafts in an almighty storm. During the explosion, the silver vortex was constantly expanding to destroy the blaze dragon's massive head bit by bit, gradually reducing it to a cloud of dense black mist. However, instead of dissipating, all of the black mist surged into the white light barrier, then rapidly passed through the vast expanse of snow and ice without any inhibition before converging entirely into the giant ice plaque. All of a sudden, a black sun exploded violently within the giant plaque, sending formidable shockwaves and countless ice crystals erupting in all directions. White light flashed over Xiaojian's body as he instantly flew away from the giant plaque, while Shuiying and the others were sent flying back by the explosion. Immediately thereafter, the wisps of black mist in the air converged to form Bai Lian, who then slowly descended onto a frozen cloud. There was black mist surging all around his body, as well as a ball of black flames hovering above each of his shoulders. His red hair had turned completely black, and a small black fire spirit rune had appeared on his glabella, while his eyes had become a darker shade of black than before. It was as if he had suddenly transformed into a completely different person. At the same time, his aura had swelled by several fold, and even the slightest gesture from him was enough to sweep up gusts of fierce wind. I went through so much trouble over the course of countless years to expel this karmic fire from my body, yet now I've been forced into remission. The heavenly Tao can truly be cruel. Bailian mused in an expressionless manner as he cast his gaze toward Xiao Jinhan. This is the baleful immortal that's being hunted by the heavenly court. Having said that, in order to attain this power, you've doomed yourself to the fifth decay, Xiao Jinhan said with a cold expression. So be it. Seeing as things have already come to this point, let the karmic fire burn even brighter. Bailian declared as a fierce look flashed through his eyes. As soon as his voice trailed off, a constant stream of black mist began to surge out of his body, forming a massive wall of black mist behind him. The wall of mist surged toward Xiao Jinhan, transforming into a black spirit domain that was slowly eating away at the white light barrier in the sky. At the same time, a cold look appeared in his eyes as he strode over the frozen cloud toward Xiao Jinhan. The clouds beneath his feet began to shatter amid a string of crisp cracking, while Luo Qinghai heaved a forlorn sigh as he observed the unfolding scene from down below. He's been forced into karmic fire remission. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, the giant blue flower flew away from the scene, carrying with it all of the vast Flow Palace cultivators. Thousands of kilometers away, Xianxia took one final glance up at the sky, then immediately flew away toward the west without any hesitation, and the other deputy Tao lords quickly departed as well, as did many of the true immortal stage elders on the Origin View peak. The blue light in Han Li's eyes faded, and he turned his gaze toward Taoist Hu Yan and Yun Ni. Upon noticing that they were also fleeing the scene, he immediately decided to do the same. "I'll be going ahead, Brother Qi," he said to Qi Liang. The latter faltered slightly upon hearing this, then replied, "Farewell, Brother Li. I want to stay here for a while longer." A battle between a pair of cultivators at the pinnacle of the golden immortal stage was truly an extremely rare sight, and there were quite a few people like Qi Liang who were willing to take the risk to observe the battle in the hope that they would be able to benefit from it, perhaps even find a catalyst for a breakthrough. "Take care," Han Li said with a parting nod, then flew away as a streak of azure light.